Time for convening having arrived. The Senate will come to order. Would ask unauthorized visitors to exit the chamber at this time. And the Senate will come to order. Chair recognizes Senator from the 53rd.
Thank you, Mr. President. Here on the 39th legislative day, a chilly day, but it's hot Atlanta, and that's not because of the weather. The journal's been read and found to be correct.
Thank you, Senator, for your good works on the journal. Is there objection to dispensing with the reading of the journal? A reading of the journal is dispensed with. Is there objection to the confirmation of the journal? Chair hears none, and the journal is confirmed. All senators having bills and resolutions to introduce, please bring them to the Secretary's desk at this time. First reading and reference of Senate bills and resolutions.
Senate Bill 266 by Senators Hill of the 32nd and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 7.
Higher education.
Senate Bill 267 by Senators Loudermilk of the 14th and others. A bill to be entitled an act to
Education and youth.
Senate Bill 268 by Senator Huffstetler of the 52nd and others.
Health and Human Services.
Senate Bill 269 by Senator Tippins of the 37th. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 3.
Judiciary.
Senate Bill 270 by Senator Miller of the 40th. A bill to be entitled an act to incorporate
State and local governmental operations.
Senate Bill 271 by Senators Carter of the 42nd and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend
Education and youth.
Senate Resolution 642 by Senators Loudermilk of the 14th and others. A resolution creating the Senate Human Embryonic
Rules Committee.
Through with the order, Mr. President.
Secretary read reports of standing committees.
Mr. President, the Senate Rules Committee has had in consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. That Senate Resolution 203 do pass by substitute. That Senate Resolution 618 do pass. That Senate Resolution 623 do pass. That Senate Resolution 629 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Mellis of the 53rd, Chairman. Mr. President, the Senate State and Local Governmental Operations Committee has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. That House Bill 380 do pass. That House Bill 561 do pass. That House Bill 586 do pass. That House Bill 589 do pass. That House Bill 591 do pass. That House Bill 593 do pass. That House Bill 594 do pass. That House Bill 598 do pass. That House Bill 627 do pass. That House Bill 642 do pass by substitute. That House Bill 604 do pass. That House Bill 435 do pass. That House Bill 528 do pass. That House Bill 575 do pass. That House Bill 584 do pass. That House Bill 619 do pass. That House Bill 620 do pass. That House Bill 590 do pass. That House Bill 630 do pass. That House Bill 625 do pass. That House Bill 444 do pass. That House Bill 629 do pass. That House Bill 638 do pass. That House Bill 641 do pass. That House Bill 548 do pass. That House Bill 603 do pass. That House Bill 616 do pass. That House Bill 640 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Ligon of the 3rd, Chairman. Through with the order, Mr. President.
Second readers.
Senate Resolution 203 by Senator Schaefer of the 48th and others. Dick Pettis, Senate Press Conference Room, designate. Senate Resolution 618 by Senator Beach of the 21st and others. Senate Study Committee on Public Transportation in the Metropolitan Atlanta Region, create. Senate Resolution 623 by Senator McCoon of the 29th and others. Senate Select Study Committee on Aaron's Law, create. Senate Resolution 629 by Senator McCoon of the 29th and others. U.S. Congress encouraged to develop, implement a practical plan. International borders. Through with the order, Mr. President.
It's time for the morning roll call. Morning roll call. Senator from the 53rd, I'm going to recognize you to move for unanimous consent to suspend the morning roll call. I think we've got a number of folks out.
So moved. We have a second here,
Senator
too.
from the 53rd has asked unanimous consent to suspend the morning roll call. Are there objection? Without objection, the roll call will be suspended. It's now time for our morning devotion. Time for the morning devotion. Would ask that senators please take your seats. It is now my distinct honor to call upon the senator from the 7th for the purpose of leading us in our pledge and introducing our chaplain of the day. Senator.
If you'll join me in a pledge to the United States flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And to the Georgia flag. I pledge allegiance to the Georgia flag and to the principles for which it stands, wisdom, justice, and moderation. It is a distinct honor and privilege this morning to introduce my pastor of the last couple of years now and of my home church. It's William Pope. He was born and raised in Douglas, Georgia. Went to South Georgia College, Valdosta State, and Liberty University, and he, along with his wife, Loy, who is with him this morning, and they have become the father and the mother of two twin boys in the early 1990s, and William was ordained as a Southern Baptist minister in 1996. He has pastored at 3 different churches, and most recently, my home church is Satilla Baptist Church, where I was born and raised, and where I currently still attend church. And again, it's my honor and privilege to let Brother William come to the podium and do the devotion for us this morning.
I better adjust this up a little bit. Tyler and I are almost the same height, but not quite. Thank you, Senator Harper and Mr. President, distinguished senators. It is an honor and a privilege to be with you this morning and to share in the morning devotion. I want to talk to you about a subject, a word called greatness. Now, if you want to accomplish something great in this legislative session, I understand the time is growing short. You only have a couple of days left, but I think all of us desire to be great, to be good at what we do. Webster defines greatness as that is of outstanding significance or importance, to be superior in quality or character, noble, powerful, influential, to be eminent, distinguished, or a great leader. As I said, all of us, in our own way, desire to be great, whether it's the kid on the playground who imagines himself hitting the home run in the bottom of the ninth in the World Series or throwing that touchdown pass. And we all want to be great. And Jesus had something to say to those of us who desire to do great things. Jesus said in Matthew chapter 20, verse 25, "But Jesus called them to himself and said, You know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and those who are great exercise authority over them. Yet it shall not be so among you. But whoever desires to become great among you, let him be your servant. And whoever desires to be first among you, let him be your slave. Just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life a ransom for many." Jesus said there is a path to greatness, and that path to greatness is to have a servant's heart. And if you're going to have a servant's heart, there are at least 3 things that you've got to possess. The first is humility. Now, I think there's a misunderstanding about what humility really is. Some people think humility means that you abandon your principles and your conviction at the first sign of opposition, that you lie down and allow others to simply walk over you. No, that's another word. That word is called cowardice, but that's not humility. Some of the most humble people that I've ever known have also been some of the most courageous. I guess the best example of humility is to be a person who lives in a room full of windows instead of mirrors. I'm reminded of a story of a couple who were approaching their midlife crisis. And as they were getting ready for bed one night, as the lady was undressing and putting her clothes on, she was looking there in the mirror, and she turned to her husband and she said, "Honey," she said, "I'm so down." She said, "Look at me. I'm becoming wrinkled. I'm getting fat. I'm getting old." She said, "Say something to make me feel good about myself." And he turned to her and he said, "Well, honey, I'll tell you this much. You got a good set of eyes." Well, I don't know about that husband. I wouldn't advise that to you gentlemen. But that's something about looking in a mirror. When you gaze in a mirror, you focus on yourself. And a humble person looks through a glass. He looks through a window, and he doesn't think about himself. He thinks about others. Actually, he follows the words of the old gospel hymn. "Others, Lord, yes, others, let this my motto be, that as I live for others, I might live for thee." So a person with a servant's heart needs to have humility, but they also need to have honor. You've got to be a person of honor. Webster defines honor as honesty, fairness, or integrity in one's beliefs and actions. A person of honor does what is right even when no one is looking. Even if they know that they will never be found out, a person of honor will always do the right thing. Well, the last thing you need if you're going to have a person with a servant's heart is hope. Because if you walk the path of humility and you have the courage to climb the mountain of honor, sometimes you're going to get discouraged. You're going to look around you and you're going to say, it seems that the good guys are losing and the bad guys are winning. It looks like that right is retreating and wrong is moving forward. You've got to have hope. I'm reminded of a story of two farmers who lived in a town. One of the farmers lived on the southern part of town, and he was one of the most humble, honorable men you could ever meet. He loved his family, he loved his church, he was devout, he was kind, he was generous. And on the other side of town lived another farmer, and this farmer was the exact opposite. He was arrogant, he was proud, he was selfish. He was one of those kind of folks that could brighten up a room just by walking out. He was a man that you didn't want to deal with. Well, one year during the season, when the rains came, it seemed they always fell on the north side of town. And the farmer on the south side, he could never get any rain. And when the harvest came in the end of October, the man on the south side of town, the good farmer, the kind farmer, he had a financial disaster. The guy on the north side of town, he had a bumper crop. When they met in town, the guy on the north side of town, he couldn't resist sticking his finger in the eye of his neighbor to the south, and he says, "Well, friend, you're always telling me I need to honor God, I need to love my neighbor, I need to serve my fellow man." He said, "You do all that, and where did it get you?" Well, the farmer on the south side looked at him, and he said, "Friend, just remember, God doesn't settle his accounts at the end of October." You got to have hope. You got to have hope. My friend, I want you to know that we in our nation, we in this state have a desperate need. And that need is not for great orators who can make shivers go down our spine with eloquent words. That need is not for great spenders who can build great buildings and promote great projects. It's not even for great politicians who might be able to manipulate the masses, but what we desperately need is great servants who will walk the path of humility, who will climb the mountain of honor, and who will keep their eyes focused on the valley of hope. May we pray. Father, we thank you for the privilege of living in this great nation where our forefathers have handed down to us a principle of government of the people, for the people, and by the people, where the government is not the master of the people, but the government is the servant of the people. And I thank you for these public servants who have given their lives to serve this great state and the people of this great state. And I pray that you may grant them wisdom, direction, guidance, and protection as they serve us. In the name of Jesus, I pray. Amen.
Well done. God didn't settle as a king. Amen. Good job. Well done. Well done.
Speaker Ralston and for those who serve with him. I pray that you would give them strength for each day and wisdom for each decision. Give them the courage of their convictions. Help them to stand tall for you. And we pray, Father, that you would bless our state and our nation, those who serve us in places of responsibility, from the president of this great country to those who serve our cities and our counties. Give them grace and courage, and help us all to love you and to remember that you are our Creator, our Sustainer, and our Savior through Christ our Lord, in whose name we pray. Amen. Please join me now as we pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That was wonderful.
I appreciate it. My pleasure. Hope you have a good day today.
Doorkeepers will unlock the doors. Chair recognizes Chairman Sims, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Information and Audits has read the journal of the previous legislative day and found it to be correct.
Chairman Sims, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits, reports that the journal of the previous legislative day has been read and found to be correct. Is there any objection to the confirmation of the journal? The chair hears none, and the journal is confirmed. The clerk will read the resolution establishing the order of business for the day.
Mr. O'Neill, the 146 moves the following be established as the order of business. During the first part of the period, unanimous consents. Introduction of bills and resolutions. First reading of reference to bills and resolutions. Second reading of bills and resolutions. Reports to standing committees. Third reading and passage. Uncontested local bills. Morning orders, rules, calendar, privilege resolutions, through the resolution establishing the order of business for this legislative day.
Is there any objection to the adoption of the resolution establishing the order of business for the day? The chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. First reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 4, Representative Guy Singer, the 48th. The bill to be entitled Act Amendment Title 50, provide for pari-mutuel wagering.
Regulated Industries.
House Bill 664 by Representative Gassaway, the 28th. Bill to be entitled Act New Charter City of Avalon.
Intergovernmental Coordination.
House Bill 665 by Representative Oliver, the 82nd. Bill to be entitled Act Incorporating New Municipality in DeKalb County.
Governmental Affairs.
House Bill 666 by Representative Caldwell, the 131st. Bill to be entitled Act Creating New Board of Commissioners, Pike County.
Intergovernmental Coordination.
House Bill 667, Representative Fleming, 121st. Bill to be entitled Act Amendment Title 16, relating to carrying, possession of firearms.
Judiciary Non-Civil.
House Bill 668, Representative Fleming, 121st. Bill to be entitled Act Amendment Title 17, relating to conduct, argument of counsel.
Judiciary.
House Bill 669, Representative Oliver, the 82nd. Bill to be entitled Act Amendment Title 20, relating to local boards of education.
Education.
House Bill 670 by Representative Fleming, 121st. Bill relating to registration of businesses using trade
Judiciary.
names. House Bill 671 by Representative Rice, the 95th. The bill to be entitled Act relating to general provisions, pretrial proceedings.
Judiciary Non-Civil.
House Bill 672 by Representative Rice, 95th. The bill to be entitled Act relating to exemptions, sales, and use tax.
The Ways and Means.
House Bill 673 by Representative Dukes, 154th. Bill to be entitled Act Amendment Title 48 relating to exemptions, ad valorem taxation.
Ways and Means.
675 by Representative Guy Singer, the 48th. The bill being entitled, amendment title 46, relating to general provisions regarding public utilities.
Judiciary.
House Resolution 1 by Representative Guy Singer, the 48th, proposing amendment to the Constitution to provide for pari-mutuel wagering.
Regulated industries.
House Resolution 868 by Representative Drummond, the 85th, resolution creating a House Study Committee on Municipalities.
Governmental affairs.
House Resolution 869 by Representative Dempsey, 13th, the resolution will recognize the problem undertreated chronic pain, requesting state agencies to address the situation.
Health and Human Services.
House Resolution 870 by Representative Sims, 123rd resolution urging the Capital Arts Standards Commission arrange replacement suitable portrait former Speaker Pro Tem Jack Connell.
State properties.
Through the first reader.
Second reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
HB 656 by Representative Atwood of the 179th, the bill relating to general provisions relative to torts. HB 657 by Representative Kidd of the 145th, bill relating to generation distribution of electricity. HB 658 by Representative Pack of the 108th, a bill relating to revenue and taxation. HB 659 by Representative.
We're in receipt of the governor's appointments, and the chair will appoint it, sign it to Committee on Assignments. Are there any unanimous consents? Any senator wishing to rise on a point of personal privilege? Senator from the 55th is recognized on a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the Senate. I would like to recognize some visitors that we have in the gallery from the Southwest DeKalb High School Navy Junior ROTC. We have 18 cadets and Commander McNeil. He's affectionately known to everyone as Top. They were established in 1993 by Commander Fred Espy. They are ranked by Navy as the #1 Navy Junior ROTC in DeKalb County. They are nationally ranked in the top 25% of 600 units. They have served over 4,000 hours of community service, 1,000 hours of service directly to Southwest DeKalb High School, and they have collected over $8,000 in 2012 for the Empty Stocking Fund. Will you please stand so that the Senate can recognize you and celebrate you? Thank you so much for visiting the Senate.
I'd like to recognize our doctor of the day, and to do so I call upon the distinguished Appropriations Chairman, the Senator from the 4th.
Oh, you got a resolution?
Do you have a you want to read it?
Yeah, just read it. I know y'all get to get going. Just read it and go. It's good to have you. Yeah, Scott, okay, good. How are you, sir?
Doing well, thank you. Secretary will read a resolution.
A resolution recognizing and commending W. Scott Bulkey, MD, and for other purposes. Whereas W. Scott Bulkey, MD, earned his medical degree from the Medical College of Georgia in Augusta, and whereas Dr. Bulkey conducted his internship and residency in family medicine at the Medical College of Georgia, and whereas Dr. Bulkey was installed in the Medical Association of Georgia's 160th president during its House of Delegates meeting in 2012, whereas Dr. Bulkey has served as an officer in the United States Air Force, and whereas Dr. Bulkey has a strong and steadfast commitment to seeking alternative ways to reduce the punitive administrative burden that is placed on physicians by government and third-party payer health insurers, including Medicare and Medicaid. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate that the members of this body commend W. Scott Bulkey, MD, for his contributions to the welfare and the citizens of this state. Through with the order, Mr. President.
Is there objection to adoption of the resolution? Chair is none, and the resolution is adopted. And to recognize our doctor of the day and speak to the resolution, I call upon the distinguished senator from the 4th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I know we got a lot to do today, but we really do have a special individual with us. And I just take 1 minute of your time to tell you about Dr. Scott Bulkey from Brooklet, Georgia. Scott's a native of Jacksonville, an Air Force veteran, graduate of the Medical College of Georgia, was a minor league baseball player, an officer in the Air Force, and has a family practice down in Brooklet, and is just a local leader. And he and his wife both are very active in the community, and he is completing his year as president of the Medical Association of Georgia. So we're very pleased to have Dr. Bulkey down in Bullock County, and I'm very pleased to hand him this resolution on behalf of you all. So thank you very much.
I don't need to say anything. Oh, all right. Well, thank you, and I know you all have a busy day, and it's going to be a long day, but thank you very much.
All right, good job. Well done. Well done. Senator from the 35th is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senators, I know you're getting excited because after today, we only have 1 more day to go. And this is a great day in the Senate because today is, the resolution says March 26, 2013 is District 35 Legislative Day at the Capitol. And my constituents are here from the 35th District. Some of the schools have come back and forth today, but more than anything else, many of my mayors and city council persons, because I represent Union City, Fairburn, Palmetto, part of College Park, Douglasville, Lithia Springs, and right here inside our chamber, I'd like to recognize the mayor of Palmetto, Mayor Clark Bodie, who's here with us today. And the other mayors are walking around somewhere, and some are in the chamber, and I see some of my South Fulton folk upstairs. So let's give them for South Fulton Day, not just South Fulton, but South Fulton and Douglas County Day at the Capitol, 35th Legislative Constituents Day. Let's give them a hand. Please stand up. Stand up, Mary, and everyone up. Stand up for me. Let's give them a warm welcome. Only 1 or 2 people stood up. Thank you very much. I will yield the well.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 12th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like for the ladies of the Senate to join me at the podium, please. Gloria, Nan, they're not listening. Anyway.
All the ladies come to the well.
All the ladies come to the well. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hurry, hurry, hurry. A lot of business to take care of today. Are you sure? These ladies are joining me along with my male colleagues in welcoming the Links Incorporated and recognizing them as celebrating Links Day at the Capitol. We are 12,000 strong. Would you stand, please? Thank you. These are my Link sisters and very much advocates for a lot of the social needs that we have across the country. We have a national initiative dealing with obesity and also highlighting STEM education. So ladies, thank you so very much for joining us here at the Capitol and for all of the good that you do across this country. Thank you very much for joining us, and we hope to continue have you serve us in all of the capacities, the professional capacities, as well as the moms of Aerolinks, and we thank you so very much for joining us here at the Capitol. Thank you very, very much. Thank you for your service also. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Senator on the 44th.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Senators, I rise this morning for a couple of things, and we have a couple of ministers from Clayton County in the audience, Minister Ron Brown and Minister Helen Brown, and also Mr. Eric Brown. Would you all please stand? Welcome to the Georgia State Senate. And also, I'd like to ask for just a moment of silence. One of our senior citizens who's been a long time a resident of Clayton County over the years, Mr. Leonard Hartsfield Sr., passed away. He was a businessman in the community, many of us who built homes there. He was the cabinet maker, had a family-owned business, a barber shop there, and a good, strong deacon in the church. And if you would, just a moment of silence for he and his family. Amen. Thank you very much, Mr. President. I will the well.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 2nd.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today I rise to talk about a valuable resource in Georgia, the red drumfish. Today, my brothers and my sisters, the government closed down local redfish. And some of you may think this doesn't mean anything, but for a lot of fishermen, it's their livelihood. I received hundreds of emails yesterday. I got a petition that was emailed to me that lists hundreds of people that says, give us less government. Don't take away our livelihood. Don't take away our access to fresh food. As you know, many people on the South, they live by fresh fish. They live by fresh crabs and fresh shrimp. They don't like to buy it from outside. But what we passed yesterday takes that freshness out of our seafood gumbo, takes that freshness out of our crab cakes, because the red fish is a source for our gumbo and for our crabs, and we like to buy local foods. Our local fishermen like to sell their products, but today we got big government, and we closed down red fish for local consumers altogether. This means that no more local redfish will be able to be sold locally. We're going to have to buy it from North Carolina. We're going to have to buy it from Virginia.
They will no longer be fresh. So I'm telling you that we need less government. We are getting rid of a livelihood for hundreds of good Georgians, good taxpayer citizens. Remember the red drumfish. Remember that this is important as your job is important. Fishermen have a right. Fish markets have a right to exist. Yesterday, we took away that right. Mr. President, I yield the will.
Are there any unanimous consents? Are there any motions to withdraw or commit? We have a consent calendar of privileged resolutions that are before you. Is there objection? Without objection, the consent calendar is therefore adopted. I have one resolution to read.
Senate Resolution 655 by Senator Orrick of the 36th and others. A resolution urging adult citizens of Georgia to strongly consider preparing an advance directive for health care that appoints their health care agent and states their treatment preferences and for other purposes.
Is there objection to adoption of the resolution? Chairs none. The resolution is adopted.
Through with the order, Mr. President.
Mr. Secretary, are there any objections filed on any of the bills on the local consent calendar?
Mr. President, we have the following objections filed on House Bill 380, House Bill 594, House Bill 598, and House Bill 604, which will go on a local contested calendar.
They will be removed and put on a local contested calendar. Is there objection to agree and report of committee on state and local governmental operation with favorable passage of the local consent calendar. All those in favor of the local consent calendar will vote aye. Those opposed, no. Secretary, unlock the machine.
Get you to read the captions of the local business.
On the pass of the bill, the yeas are 45 and the nays are 3, and the local consent calendar is therefore adopted. We have now the local contested calendar. This is the contested calendar. Secretary will read the 4 bills.
House Bill 380 by Representative Riley of the 50th and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend an act providing in Fulton County a system for pension and retirement pay for teachers and employees of the Board of Education of Fulton County and for other purposes. House Bill 594 by Representative Martin of the 49th and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend an act entitled an act to completely and exhaustively revise, supersede, consolidate, and replace all the laws and amendments thereto pertaining to the Fulton County Personnel Board of the Fulton County Merit System of Personnel Administration and for other purposes. House Bill 598 by Representative Willard of the 51st and others. A bill to be entitled an act to provide that Fulton County employees first or again employed on and after July 1st, 2013 to serve the Superior Court of Fulton County, the Magistrate Court of Fulton County, or the State of Court of Fulton County shall be employees at will and for other purposes. House Bill 604 by Representative Jones of the 47th and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend an act providing for the determination of millage rates by governing authorities in Fulton County and for other purposes. Through with the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes Senator on the 21st on HB 380.
Thank you, Mr. President. And fellow senators, I rise to speak on behalf of HB 380 and ask for your favorable consideration. The purpose of this is to remove any confusion over management of the pension fund, to place ultimate responsibility for management of this pension fund with the elected Fulton Board of Education under the direction of the superintendent. Let me state this. This bill only affects the governance. It does not affect any benefits of these teachers. Benefit Board will now be a committee of the elected Fulton County School Board. The superintendent will chair the pension board, but be a non-voting ex officio member. The Fulton School Board CFO will also be a member as the benefit manager. Currently, neither are on the pension board, nor do pension employees report to the superintendent. Pension participants will hold 5 of the 7 positions on the board, up from 4 right now. All nominations subject to board approval. All vacancies for the 5 participant group seats must be replaced by someone within the group. Teachers, 2. Former teachers, 2. Administrator, 1 seat. Initial pension boards will be appointed by the Board of Education, but all appointments must come from the participant groups except for the CFO and the benefit manager. Again, I want to stress that this only affects governance and not benefits to the teachers. With limited time, Mr. President, I yield the well and ask for favorable consideration.
Chair recognizes Senator from 36. Speak to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, colleagues. We ask for your indulgence yet again as the local legislation for Fulton County is shanghaied. What is before you now in House Bill 380 would result in dissolving the pension board that has been in place for decades for Fulton County employees. It'll grant the Fulton County School Board complete control over the employee pension plan when that plan has been run, administered with school board participation since the 80s. Now, let me point out to you something about the process, and this applies not only to this bill, but to the other contested local bills that you're going to be asked to vote on, and that is, we've really seen a departure from even a pretense of engaging in the legislative process, of reviewing bills that address issues, inviting the stakeholders and the public to come forward and bring us information, deliberate as a county delegation, debate, and take votes on these bills. We've had no delegation meetings on the Senate side except to do the orders of business such as setting up the rules. The chairman of the delegation, who was elected this year, is new to that role. He chairs, I believe, the Cobb delegation as well, but and it extends to me personally any courtesy. But we have not, as a delegation, met and deliberated these bills. That has not occurred. What you see is raw power. We drew a gerrymandered map. We have the majority vote now of the GOP and in Fulton County, which is a Democratic county, and it's devil take the hindmost. We've got the power. We'll do anything we want to your county. And what they've done here, it sadly, is to assault and insult the longtime loyal employees and now retirees of the Fulton County school system. I have met with members from South Fulton, with members from North Fulton. These are not folks that are lined up by party. They're lined up by virtue of their status as retirees who depend on this pension system as it is to provide them some modicum of security in their golden years. The pension board has been effectively and efficiently serving the fiduciary needs of retirees and currently contributing employees. There is a trust with the pension board and the staff, and nothing has been presented by the school board or the bill sponsors that justifies a rush to pass House Bill 380. Let me tell you, the folks, teachers from across the county, and they live in neighboring counties as well who've retired from this system, came forward on the House side in one hastily called hearing that the House held. And they pled that the bill be tabled to allow time for the development of a pension fund study commission with representatives from all the stakeholders, the retired educators associations, the non-TRS retirees, the current plan members who are still working and paying into it, and ask that these meetings be facilitated with a mediator and take a due diligence and a year-long process to develop a plan with everybody bought in over the next year so that the future of the pension board is assured working in collaboration and coordination with school board. That plea was met, it fell on deaf ears. It's the same old saw. We've got the power, so we're going to do it. We've got the votes, so end of conversation. It's a step backwards. When the system was set up 75 years ago, independence of the pension fund board was understood as a principle. And this small but extremely critical point has been ratified by the drafters of the National Council on Teacher Retirement, the Uniform Management of the Public Employee Retirement Systems Act, and the Employee Retirement Income Security Act, ERISA. The NCTR opposes any political or legislative intrusion that could cause trustees to act in a manner that would be inconsistent with their fiduciary duty. As fiduciaries, the primary obligation of the pension board members is to act for the exclusive benefit of the retirement system members. Their loyalty must be undivided and uncompromising. ERISA states that the pension fund board members must avoid conflicts of interest. They may not engage in transactions on behalf of the plan that benefit parties related to the plan, such as other fiduciaries, service providers, or the plan sponsor. The ERISA federal law reiterates the point: any pension plan board member cannot engage in any pension plan transaction for the benefit of the plan sponsor. So this separation between a pension board and the plan sponsor is acknowledged nationally by federal experts on the subject matter. But you know, when you don't even hold a Senate hearing for these matters to be brought forth, there's really no time or no opportunity to weigh and consider. Instead, it's run around and grab up the requisite number of signatures, and it's Katie bar the door. That's how this bill is on your desk this morning on the consent calendar. That's how all these bills that are on your desk in the contested local consent calendar, that's the path that they followed. This Senate delegation, I haven't sat down yet in a meeting with all these GOP folk that represent Fulton County purportedly in this map that was drawn. We haven't had a meeting with everybody there, because in the 2 or maybe 3 occasions that we met to consider the rules and draw up the rules and be sure we had this very convoluted list of who could sign what bill when, I believe a couple of members of the GOP deigned to come to the Fulton County delegation meeting. And at none of those meetings were we given the privilege of debating bills, of inviting. Wouldn't it have been smart for the Fulton County School Board members that wanted this to come down here and talk to us about it? Wouldn't that have been the intelligent way to go about policy making? Wouldn't we have liked to have had the opportunity for the retirees that are impacted by this system, for the pension board that gets up every morning and goes down there to work and manages that money and has passed audits with flying colors? Wouldn't we be better served if we had an opportunity as a delegation to hear from them? No, it's all about power politics. That's what it's all about. Of the signatures that are on this bill, I would say to you that now the retirees have come down here and tried mightily to come to the ropes and talk to the members of the Fulton delegation, and have been successful with some and not so with others. But there's been no process with the kind of money and the kind of stakes that are involved in a pension plan for one of Georgia's largest counties for their school system retirees. This Senate Fulton delegation has never been able to hear a mumbling word from them in public and on the record before signing this bill and sending it on. It's a mockery of the process. It's a mockery of the democratic process to see these bills come to the floor in this manner. Are we saying that we have a Fulton County delegation that can't even speak to each other in a formal meeting other than to set the rules? Are we saying that the GOP members of the delegation are not going to deign to come and attend, other than the chairman, who has worked diligently, has been pushed on and pulled on from many sides in this? I don't lay this at his feet. He didn't draw those maps, and he has held meetings with us and consulted around the rules and the order of business. But we have had not one single Fulton County delegation Senate hearing on any of these bills that have come before you today. That's an enormous truth that I want you to sit with. And think about what it would be like if this happened in your county. Think about that. When the shoe's on the other foot, it starts to pinch those corns. So I submit to you that this bill is a terrible way to do business. It's an undemocratic approach to a complex issue of a multi-million-dollar pension board in Fulton County for retirees who depend on that. They're not the one people that are covered in this are not Social Security eligible by virtue of the design of the plan and those decisions that were made decades ago. So retirees are absolutely apoplectic at this level of tampering, and I'm telling you, good people, these are Republicans, Democrats, and independents. This is not a Democratic-Republican issue out there when you talk to the retirees. This is their pension plan, and why have we gone to meddling with it without giving them the respect, of being able to participate in a hearing and make their case and bring forth the facts and figures to the Fulton County Senate delegation. I urge your opposition to this bill on so many grounds. Thank you.
Time's way over expired. We got to shorten this one up and let's stay within the boundaries. Chair recognizes Senator from the 32nd to speak to House Bill 594. We will all be voting on this as a contested calendar. Senator from 32nd.
Thank you, Mr. President. I bring to you House Bill 594 related to local legislation for Fulton County, and it simply relates to the Fulton County employees who will be new hires. This does not apply to existing Fulton County employees. It applies to every Fulton County employee that is newly hired from this point on after it's signed into law. And it incorporates, the best practices of the private sector. It provides that those Fulton County employees will serve at will, and it exempts out the public safety employees. With that, Mr. President, I'll yield the well for the sake of time.
Chair recognizes Senator from 38th.
Mr. President, colleagues, well, I don't know where to start. Yet again, we are here dealing with local legislation, as has already been discussed by the senator from the 36th. This time, the local legislation, I'm going to deal with 594 and 598 at the same time, will be taking away the right of new employees, as was stated by the previous senator. In 1943, the Personnel Board for Fulton County was originally established by Georgia law as the Civil Service Board. 10 years ago, in 2003, the Personnel Board was expanded to 7 members, with each member of the Board of Commissioners having 1 appointment. Any permanent Fulton County classified employee who has been dismissed, suspended, demoted, or otherwise disciplined for cause whereby the employee suffers any loss in salary, grade, or classification, or who has been refused an examination or certification, has the right at current to appeal such action to the Personnel Board. That's what we're taking away from new employees, the right to appeal an action. Now, I was with United Airlines for 18 and a half years. In 1984, we did a very similar thing. I heard the previous senator from the 32nd talk about the best of public and private. We did a similar thing where we took away the rights of employees. It is not a good thing to not have the ability to go and let people know that I've been, something that's happened to me that's unjustifiable. I have been dismissed or suspended or demoted. or possibly losing my job. The Board of Commissioners created the Fulton County Personnel Board in part for an administrative review in order to protect civil service employees from political or non-job related adverse employment decisions. 594 and 598 would strip Fulton County court employees as well as the regular employees of civil service protections that currently ensure employees are not terminated for political or non-job related reasons. Without an administrative review of employment decisions, terminated employees may increasingly seek redress in the courts and increase the cost to our county. We have seen bills this particular session that want to increase the exemption, shrink Fulton County government, thereby putting people out of employment in the time when our country, our state needs to be growing. These bills are not good for Fulton County. They're not good for any of our counties. And unfortunately, I guess we're going to see an avalanche of this type of legislation continuing to happen. 598, which is basically the same as 594. The difference is in 598, the Fulton County Commissioners have already addressed the civil service situation for the court system. And so they've already made the recommendation that is being codified in this law. So we are wasting time and effort to do something that's already been addressed in that particular piece of legislation, thereby wasting everyone's time and making unnecessary laws and codifying unnecessary laws into existence. I ask my colleagues to please vote against this type of legislation. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 56th to speak to House Bill 604. Is that right? Oh, and you're well, yeah, and 598, or no. All right, Chair recognizes Senator from the 6th. Or are you doing both? Senator from the 6th is not present. All right, you can speak to both. Senator from 38 spoke to both, and this will conclude.
Thank you, Mr. President. Fellow senators, I'll be brief because it's day 39. I do want to make one correction that was misstated earlier. The House and the Senate did have several combined meetings in order to solicit public input for the Fulton County changes. House Bill 598 is very similar to the one that the senator from the 32nd just presented, only it deals specifically with the courts, superior, state, and magistrate courts, where employees, only new ones will be unclassified. It's important to note that these best practices were recommendations from a bipartisan commission. I'm also here to speak on House Bill 604. House Bill 604 is relating to the Fulton County millage rate. This simply suspends proceedings to increase the ad valorem millage rate in the years 2013 and 14. It's important to note that only one county out of all 159 counties this can be applied to is Fulton, and it is specifically because of a 1951 local constitutional amendment which pertained only to Fulton County. This simply requires 5 of 7 commissioners to vote on an increase, a tax increase to the millage rate in 2015 once the new reapportionment districts are taken care of. Again, this is an important task to make sure and we protect the fact that we will not increase taxes without a supermajority. Thank you, Mr. President. With that, I will yield the will.
It's okay. Okay, we're going to take up these bills. We thought we had a consensus on a calendar voting on all 4 All of them have been spoken to. Sorry? Oh, I'm sorry. Senator from the 39th is recognized to speak to the last bill. Or did I get? Chair recognizes Senator from the 39th to speak in opposition to House Bill 604.
Mr. President, members of the Senate, I'm going to propose a resolution to change the name of the Georgia General Assembly to the Fulton County Commission because, in effect, that's what we are becoming. We've had 3 Fulton County bills already. We've got 4 coming on the local contested calendar right now. We have 3 on the general rules calendar, and then we may have even more coming down the pike in a few minutes. That's 10 or 15 Fulton County bills that you from Gwinnett, you from Hayhira, you from all over the state are going to be asked to vote on. That doesn't make good sense. But be that as it may, we will forge on. But I apologize to you, Senator from the 23rd, that you have to act as a de facto Fulton County Commissioner. That's not fair to you, although I know you're going to do your job. And I apologize to you, Senator from the 9th. You shouldn't have to take your good time and effort and energy. I know you're a very impatient man. You shouldn't have to take your time, energy, and resources to come down here to manage Fulton County. I will not repeat what the senator from the 36th said about how these bills have not been fully vetted. You know, grab signatures and run is what it's called. I won't talk about the fact that there have been no public hearings on the Senate side, or the hearings that have been held have been a charade. I want to talk about some facts. Even right now, and I know this is a millage rate cap, but even right now, Fulton County has the highest homestead exemption of any county in the state. If you want a homestead exemption as high as Fulton County, all you have to do is what? Introduce it. And the fact of the matter is that Fulton County's, listen to this because this is directly relevant. Senator from the 48th, listen to this because this is directly relevant. Fulton County has done nothing but lower its millage rate since 1991. Since 1991, for the last 22 years, Fulton County Commission has done nothing but lower the rate. We don't need a cap. Maybe we need a cap to stop lowering the rate. But we most certainly don't need a cap to stop from raising it, because all we have done in Fulton County is lower the millage rate. And I'm not going to talk about the law. If this passes, other people will talk about the law. The law will be vetted very clearly and very closely in Fulton County Superior Court and then probably the Georgia Supreme Court. But I will put on the record that we believe that this is an unconstitutional bill. We believe that the Constitution prohibits what we are doing here today because House Bill 604 purports to and does not in any way pertain to a homestead exemption, purports to change Fulton County's taxing authority via local rather than general law. We believe it violates the provision of the Constitution. We believe it's unconstitutional. In addition, the Georgia Constitution expressly prohibits local laws in any case where provision has been made by general law. The entire field of ad valorem taxation is governed by Chapter 5 of the Code of Georgia. Thus, House Bill 604 violates the provision of the Constitution. And lastly, House Bill 604 states that it is authorized by a local constitutional amendment. However, that 1951 amendment clearly does not grant the General Assembly the authority to enact limits on Fulton County's powers to set tax and millage rates. My colleagues, we have better things to do than to govern Fulton County. I ask you to vote against this bill. We think it's bad policy. We think it's bad law. But more than that, we think it is immoral law. I ask you to vote against it, and Mr. President, I yield the well unless there are questions.
Chair recognizes Senator from 35th for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Does the gentleman yield? Will he?
Yes, ma'am.
Isn't it true that that we as policymakers should be working to fix things and to make things better rather than to dismantle something that has been working in an excellent manner for more than, since 91 and before?
I appreciate that question. I think you're right. This is a problem in search of a solution, solution in search of a problem, rather. I would hope that we would do other things. But, you know, I do want to also say, Madam, as you asked that question, that this millage rate cap and the homestead exemption is going to lead to some disastrous effects here in Fulton County. One, we know that it's a $48 million hit when you couple this with the homestead exemption. $48 million hit. That's $48 million that's going to come from Grady. There's no two ways about it. It's not bluffing. Grady's going to lose $50 million. This General Assembly has been very involved in Grady's business. We can agree or disagree about that, but the fact is, at the end of the day, it's going to take a huge hit to Grady. It's going to happen.
And will you further yield?
Yes, ma'am.
Isn't it true that we as lawmakers here in this Capitol should be looking at passing good legislation rather than supporting a personal vendetta of one who was a county commissioner and was very inept at their job, and now that they're a state representative, then they want to come and they are beating their chest and saying, yes, we're going to tear Fulton County apart and we're going to make Milton County. Isn't that wrong?
It is wrong, and I'm not going to disagree with you.
Thank you.
Mr. President, I yield the well unless there are questions.
Well, Senator from 36 wishes to, there's only a little bit of time remaining.
Thank you, Mr. President. What do you reckon, Senator, it's going to cost the state of Georgia when this litigation starts about this unconstitutional measure that is before us at this moment?
To be honest with you, I really can't answer that. It's going to be a large amount. I am not a lawyer, but I've become familiar as spending 17 years down here that lawyers cost a lot of money. They charge big fees.
Thank you, Senator.
No further questions, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes Senator from 56.
Thank you, Mr. President. We're going to close out the debate. I would just like to ask our friends and fellow senators that these are good bills. Public hearings were held with both the House and Senate combined committees. This will ultimately help the county that you are sitting in right now. There were a couple things mentioned that need to be corrected. This is not the homestead exemption. Let me repeat, this is not the homestead exemption, and this has no impact to Grady Hospital. This is the last of the Fulton County bills that you will see today, and for the rest of this legislative session, I know you'll be as happy as all of us are. I ask for your favorable consideration on all four of the upcoming votes for our local legislation, knowing that we all know what's best for our local cities and counties. Thank you, and I yield the will.
Senator from 38th, what purpose you rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Mr. President, it has come to our attention that the bills are not on our desk. People are asking me where the bills are. I would like to make a motion to print the bills so that each one of us could look at it and fully make a determination as to how we want to vote on these pieces of these bills.
The Secretary has just informed me, we do not normally put or not normally, we do not put the local bills on the desk of senators. A motion as you have made to print is in order. However, it is a motion that would have to have a majority vote in order to move to print on those. So if you would like to have that vote, you can do so. The senator has moved to print. The senator has moved to print on the local bills. All those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed, no, and the secretary will unlock the machine. This is a majority of the quorum voting in order to print. A motion to print. Chair recognizes Senator from the 56th. What purpose you rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Isn't it true that we'd ask that senators vote no on this, so it would be no different than any other bill that we put on the consent calendar?
Senator is expressing his view. Chair recognizes Senator on 42nd. What purpose you rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
If people don't want the bills to be read, doesn't that say something about their quality?
Senator is reflecting his views. Chair recognizes Senator 35th.
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Isn't it true that even though they had a joint public hearing for these bills, we did not have an opportunity to 250 people came and they spoke against it, and only 16 spoke for it, for any of these bills?
Senator has great passion for which she speaks. On the motion to print, the yeas are 17 and the nays are 26, and the motion to print has failed. Question now is on HB 380. 380. All of those in favor of HB 380 will vote aye. Those opposed, no. Secretary will unlock the machine. Voting on all of it. You're voting on each one of the bills, not as a calendar, contested calendar, as we had initially talked about. HB 380. Chair recognizes Senator from 36. What purpose you rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Isn't it true that House Bill 380 would unceremoniously strip the pension board of the powers that it's held for decades without due consideration or consultation with the members of that board or the retirees that are affected by it?
Senator's reflecting her view. On the passage of HB 380, the yeas are 30 and the nays are 16, and the bill, having received requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Now we move to House Bill 594. All of those in favor of House Bill 594 will vote aye. Those opposed, no. Secretary will unlock the machine. This is dealing with the personnel. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 35 and the nays are 14. And this bill, having Series constitutional majority, is therefore adopted. That moves us to House Bill 598. 598. All those in favor of House Bill 598, vote aye. Those opposed, no. Secretary will unlock the machine. This is dealing with the magistrate courts. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 35 to 14. And that bill, having Series constitutional majority, is therefore adopted. Last bill, House Bill 604. All of this is dealing with the millage rate. All those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed, no. Secretary will unlock the machine. Chair recognizes Senator on the 56. What purpose you rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Isn't it true that this bill will only require a higher majority in order to raise taxes from the Fulton County Commission and do nothing else? Simply make it harder to raise taxes for the good citizens of Fulton County.
I think that was fully debated. Senator from the 36. What purpose you rise? State your inquiry.
True that this bill would not allow Fulton County Commission to properly govern by majority home rule, and this is a finest example I've seen of going to meddling in a county's business.
Senator has debated the issue with great passion. On the pass of the bill, the yeas are 32 and the nays are 15. And I believe Fulton County, I'm assuming all the Fulton County bills have been done for the year. Is that correct? Is it all done? Let's give Fulton County a great round of applause. I'll tell you what. We're done with Fulton County, hopefully. At least for this year. Got a first reader. Secretary will read.
House Bill 655 by Representative Nimmer of the 178th. A bill to be entitled an act to repeal an act creating the Brantley
State
County...
and local governmental operations.
Through with the order, Mr. President.
We have motions for engrossment. All right, I'm not. Chair recognizes the majority leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask unanimous consent to engross House Bills 34, 463, 250, 211, 399, 99, and 517.
Okay. All right. Just I understand there's objection. Just calm down. All right. Let me repeat. Engrossment of revenue bills. That's House Bill 34, House Bill 463, House Bill 250, House Bill 211, and House Bill 399, 99, and House Bill 517. Chair recognizes Senator from 33rd. What purpose you rise?
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr.
State your inquiry.
Is it not true that last year and this year that some of us have been very concerned that we would make one motion to concern 7 or 8 bills because we'll be casting one vote on different subject matters? Oh, never mind.
It's what we call late arriving information. Senator from the 53rd, are you moving for engrossment? Is that what you're going to do? All right, I think we can take these up first. Yeah. We're going to take up the bills that have just been announced. Senator from the 9th, what purpose you rise? State your inquiry.
Could you give me that list
again
slowly one more time, please?
I'll be delighted to do that. On your rules or on your calendar, it is House Bill 34 on page 1, House Bill 463 on page 3, 2, House Bill 250, page 3 at the top, House Bill 211, page 4, almost at the bottom, House Bill 399, page 4, House Bill 99, which is back on page 2, at the top, and House Bill 517 on page 4. Is everybody with me? Okay. All right, all those in favor of engrossment will vote aye. Those opposed, no. Secretary will unlock the machine. On the motion for engrossment, the yeas are 35 and the nays are 14, and the Senate has engrossed the revenue bills. Chair now recognizes the senator from the 53rd.
Thank you, Mr. President. You ask for unanimous consent to engross Ethics Bill, House Bill 143.
There is objection. We're doing these individually. All those in favor of engrossment on House Bill 143 will vote aye. Those opposed, no. Secretary will unlock the machine. Chair recognizes Senator from the 33rd. What purpose you rise?
Inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Is it not true that this is not a tax bill and concerns every senator and all politicians in Georgia, and that we should debate this bill? Is that not right? And that we should be able to amend it if we need to? Is that not right?
Senator has great passion over these issues of engrossment and has had a long, long tradition of opposing them in the minority and supporting them when he was in the majority. And let it be said, he is my friend. On the engrossment motion, the yeas are 32 and the nays are 18, and the motion for engrossment has succeeded. Chair recognizes Senator number 27.
President, I make a motion that we engross House Bill 139.
All right, 139. He's moving on 139. There is objection. All those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed, no. Secretary will unlock the machine. This is engrossment of House Bill 139. On the motion for engrossment of House Bill 139, the yeas are 31 and the nays are 21, and the Senate has engrossed the bill. Now the chair recognizes Senator from the 30th.
Yes, Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent to engross election bill, House Bill 87.
87. There is objection on that. I think there. All those in favor wishes to speak. Who? Senator from the 42nd. Chair recognizes Senator from the 42nd to debate on engrossment. Limited time.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill, HB 87, allows for us to create precincts in gated communities. Now, if that's not the most one-sided thing you've heard that deserves to have a full discussion on the floor, it's unbelievable. I mean, what we're going to do is we're going to say because we're in control of this body, we are going to have a partisan power play to say we're going to allow gated communities to have special voting procedures and not even open it up for a full discussion of what other kinds of communities ought to have their own precincts. That's ridiculous. I mean, and this is the Senate. I mean, we ought to be up here having a full discussion on all these bills. This particular one, to me, is almost the most egregious bill of the day because it is so blatantly partisan. It's so blatantly set up in order to put the rules of the game into play for one team over the other. And all we're trying to do, you can vote the amendments down, but let's at least vote on them. Let's at least let people know how we feel about these different other communities and why gated communities get a special treatment. That's the only thing we're asking for. And I would ask you, don't engross this bill. We can have a debate. We'll keep it. You know, if you're worried about time, there's a lot of ways to save time, but engrossment is not a good idea on this bill. It doesn't make sense. It's not in the best interest of the state. I ask you to vote no.
All those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed, no. Secretary will unlock the machine. You are voting on the motion to engross House Bill 87. After these motions, we will be breaking for lunch. Chair recognizes Senator 33rd. What purpose you rise?
Following inquiry, Mr. President.
State your inquiry.
I may have been coming to my seat and not heard this, but is it true that the person that made the motion to engross did not defend or give us the reason he wanted engrossment?
No, the senator did not come to the well. That is correct.
Thank you.
On the motion for engrossment, the yeas are 27 and the nays are 25, and the motion has failed. Motion has failed. 87 will not be engrossed. Okay, I've just been informed. I think lunch is not going to be here till 12:30. Get David. Secretary will read House Bill. Bob. House Bill 232.
House Bill 232 by Representative Battles of the 15th and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 47-21-4 of the OCGA relating to employee and other contributions in the Regents' retirement plan and for other purposes. The Committee of the Senate on Retirement recommends that this bill do pass. Through with the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 40th to speak to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. What this bill does is we've got the equivalent of a 401k plan for the Regents' retirement system, and it puts the rate of contribution by the employee will now be determined by the Regents versus the teacher retirement system. Both of these systems agreed that this is the best way to handle it, and that is the particular bill. I'll be happy to answer any questions, Mr. President.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall the main question now be put? Are there any objections? The chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. Shall this bill now pass? The question is on the passage of the bill. All those in favor of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed, no. The secretary will unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the ayes are 47, the noes are 1. The bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. The secretary will read House Bill 289.
House Bill 289 by Representative Kelly of the 16th and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 1 of Article 4A of Title 11 of the OCGA relating to subject matter and definitions relative to funds, transfers, and for other purposes. The Committee of the Senate on Banking and Financial Institutions recommends that this bill do pass. Through with the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 49th to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to present House Bill 289. House Bill 289 is a administrative piece of legislation that would keep Georgia in line or in compliance with the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform Act and would provide certainty for money transfers in places like Western Union. If there are no questions, Mr. President, I'll yield the will.
Are no questions.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall the main question now be put? Are there any objections? The chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. Shall this bill now pass? The question is on the passage of the bill. All those in favor of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed, no. The secretary will unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the ayes are 47, the noes are 4. The bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. The secretary will read House Bill 437.
House Bill 437 by Representative Willard of the 51st and others. A bill to be entitled an act to provide for the selection of the Chief Judge of the Atlanta Judicial Circuit and for other purposes. The Committee of the Senate on Judiciary recommends that this bill do pass. Through with the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 29th District to speak to the bill.
This bill simply, House Bill 437, which it is my privilege to present to you today, simply provides a definition for the duties of the Chief Judge of the Atlanta Judicial Circuit. If there are no questions, Mr. President, I'll yield the will.
There are no, I'm sorry, there is a question. The senator from the 38th District is recognized for the purpose of asking a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will the senator yield?
Certainly.
First question. Are you in the Atlanta Judicial Circuit?
I am not.
You are not.
But anytime there is a change to the internal operating procedures of a judicial circuit, those are provided for in a general bill. And I was asked by the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee to carry this bill, and of course he is in the Atlanta Judicial Circuit.
Thank you. Will you further yield?
Certainly.
Can you tell us how the Chief Judge is presently selected?
Well, this does not change the method of selection of the Chief Judge. All this bill does is it spells out the duties of the Chief Judge, which are currently not defined by law. And so this simply directs what the Chief Judge's responsibilities are within the Atlanta Judicial Circuit.
Will the senator further yield?
Certainly.
Could you tell us why we are looking to assign these particular duties? What problems occurred that we needed to do this?
It's my understanding when we had this in committee that the judges of the Atlanta Judicial Circuit wanted to more clearly define the duties of the chief judge. Right now, of course, there's always been the position of chief judge, and it's generally understood to be an administrative clearinghouse type position, but they wanted to be able to more clearly define what those duties were, so they came to the General Assembly and asked for this more clear definition, which really just essentially specifies what the chief judge is already doing.
Thank you.
Senator from the 39th District is recognized for a question.
Will Senator yield?
Certainly.
I think I just have one question, and that question is this. Why can't the judges do it themselves? I'm familiar with the judges of the Superior Court in Fulton County. I know they have a history of working together. You know, why can't they just do it themselves as opposed to, and I probably will vote for this, but why can't they do it for themselves as opposed to you and me telling them how to do it?
No, I certainly understand the question, and I can tell the senator, because I've had some experience with an issue in the Chattahoochee Circuit we'll be dealing with later on, that internal operating procedures of the circuit, there is a dispute in the law when you're dealing with a substantive matter versus a procedural matter about whether or not that needs to be in code. And so while I think the judges have been acting in conformity with this bill, they wish to have it in code to clear up any potential ambiguity about whether or not they are acting properly.
Will the senator further yield?
Yes.
That begs the question. Couldn't they, if beyond codification, well, short of codification, couldn't they make those changes themselves and by majority vote as opposed to coming down to the Gold Dome and asking us to do it for them?
And again, what I would say to you is that internal operating procedures of a purely procedural nature can be submitted to the Supreme Court of Georgia for their review and approval, but there are Attorney General's opinions on this subject that create some confusion as to whether or not these types of matters have to be written into the code. And so again, what I would say to you is that while this is the duties of the chief judge as they are currently, they wish to have them in the code, and we are simply seeking to carry out their wishes through enactment of House Bill 437.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 54th for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will Senator yield?
Yes.
Senator, isn't it true that judicial circuits, while in some cases, particularly urban environments, are bounded by one county's boundaries, that they are in fact creatures of the state and are occupied by constitutional officers, Superior Court judges?
That is correct.
And isn't it further true that while we normally think of them as being in close relationship with local government, that in fact they are independent legal entities created by statute created in this body?
That is absolutely correct.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Mr. President.
No further questions, Senator. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? Is there objection? Grant report of committee which failed pass the bill. Chair hears none. Report of committee is agreed to. Shall the main question be now put? Are there any objections? The chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. Shall this bill now pass? The question is on the pass of the bill. All of those in favor of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed, no. Secretary will unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 46 and the nays are 2, and this bill, AMC Rex Constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Secretary will read House Bill 441.
House Bill 441 by Representative Willard of the 51st and others. A bill to be entitled an act to provide for the administration of the budget of the Superior Court of Fulton County, to provide that the court administrator shall have oversight over the budget and for other purposes. The Committee of the Senate on Judiciary recommends that this bill do pass. Through with the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes Senator 29th present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 441 simply provides for the court administrator of the Superior Court of Fulton County and the role that they play in establishing oversight of the court's budget. If there are no questions, Mr. President, I'll yield the will.
There are questions. Chair recognizes Senator from 39th for a question.
Will the senator yield?
Certainly.
I understand the point that the senator from the 54th made, saying that the Superior Court judges and I assume Superior Court are creatures of the state. And but I've been around for a long time. Before I got elected, I've had familiarity with several of the judges of Fulton County Superior Court, and I know how they operate. And I fully believe that they can, as they have for a long time, take care of their own business. So my question is, Senator, with all due respect, why is this needed for us to determine what the administrator of Fulton County Superior Court shall have oversight of? Regardless of the fact that Superior Court, like all courts, are creatures of the state, all courts in the state are creatures of the state for the most part, why do we need to be down here under the Gold Dome legislating on Fulton County government and Fulton County Superior Court?
And again, I would just refer to my response earlier in your question to House Bill 437. Again, this has to do with the internal workings of the court. The judges of that court came to us, asked for this, and we're simply responding to that request.
Chair recognizes Senator from 33rd for a question.
Senator, you.
Certainly.
Senator, the court administrator is a fairly recent position that has developed into a pretty important position over the state, but it's one of the last 20, 25 years. Is that correct?
I believe so, yes, sir.
And do you know in this instance who hires the administrator?
I do not know the answer to that question, no, sir.
Would it be unusual if the judges hire the administrator but yet give him the authority to oversee the budget?
Again, I would just refer you to my earlier answer that, again, the judges have asked for the court administrator to have this oversight, and so we are attempting to accommodate that request through House Bill 441.
Last question to you.
Yes, sir.
Is it not beginning to sound like a zoning board or a buffer for the elected officials?
Again, I just think that it's what the judges have requested, and we're trying to accommodate that request.
Well, I'm sorry, one more. I just wonder if we just ought to possibly let us run Fulton County because we seem to want to do it. Is that true?
I'm sure you would know more about that than I would.
No further questions, Senator. Any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? Is there objection? Agree in the Porter Committee which failed pass the bill. Chairs none. Porter Committee is agreed to. Shall the main question be now put? Are there any objections? Chairs none. Main question is ordered. Shall this bill now pass? Questions on the pass the bill. All those in favor of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed, no. Secretary unlock the machine. On the pass of the bill, the yeas are 45 and the nays are 5. And this bill, MC Rex Constitution majority, is therefore passed. Chair recognizes Senator from the 17th.
That the Senate disagree to House substitute to Senate Bill 137.
Read the caption.
Senate Bill 137 by Senator Jefferson of the 17th and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 48-7-40.1 of the OCGA relating to tax credits for business enterprises in less developed areas and for other purposes.
Is there objection? Without objection, the Senate has disagreed. Chair recognizes Senator from the 2nd. Senator from the 2nd. He's not here. Chair recognizes Senator from the 43rd. 43rd.
I move that the Senate disagree to House substitute to Senate Bill 121.
Read the caption.
Senate Bill 121 by Senator Ramsey of the 43rd and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 3 of Chapter 2 of the Title 40 of the OCGA relating to prestige license plates and special plates for certain persons and vehicles and for other purposes.
Is there objection? Without objection, the Senate has disagreed. Chair recognizes Senator from the 47th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that the Senate disagree to House substitute to Senate Bill 160.
Read the caption.
Senate Bill 160 by Senators Ginn of the 47th and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 13-10-91 of the OCGA relating to verification of new employee eligibility, applicability, and rules and regulations.
Is there objection? Without objection, the Senate has disagreed. Chair recognizes Senator from the 2nd.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate disagree to House substitute to Senate Bill 113.
Disagree. Read the caption.
Senate Bill 113 by Senator Jones of the 10th and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 9-11-4 of the OCGA relating to process, so as to change provisions relating to personal service of a summons on a corporation and for other purposes.
Is there objection? Without objection, the Senate has disagreed. Secretary will read House Bill 143.
House Bill 143 by Representative Rawson of the 7th and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 2 of Chapter 5 of the Title 21 of the OCGA relating to campaign contributions so as to change certain provisions and for other purposes. The Committee of the Senate on Rules recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. The Senate Rules Committee offers the following substitute to House Bill 143. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 5 of Title 21 of the OCGA relating to ethics in government so as to change certain provisions relating to powers and duties of the Georgia Government Transparency and Campaign Finance Commission and for other purposes. Through with the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 53rd to present the bill. Please give the distinguished Rules Chairman your attention.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm proud to present another ethics bill this year and want to commend you for all your work that you do for ethics in Georgia. The Senate has led the charge on ethics this year, and I'm very proud of the work that we've done. Well, this is one that deals mainly with locals. House Bill 143 is legislation that allows the local candidates to file their required disclosure reports with the county election superintendent or the municipal clerk of their jurisdiction and allows for them to then transfer it electronically to the Georgia Ethics Commission. And there you go. Yeah, I'll get that in a little bit. And also, there's no penalty for the local elected official if that doesn't happen in a timely manner, even though they have 30 days. Also, it has in the bill that if the local candidate does not raise more than $2,500, they won't have to disclose either. Also, with a suggestion from the senator from the 46, we are taking the 31st disclosure requirement in a non-election year and moving that to the 31st of January instead of the 31st of December to adjust from the House's position to have another disclosure right after session begins. So we believe that will be an easier one to do instead of having to do two right back to back. Also, the final thing would be that if you're running for office for General Assembly or statewide, that the playing field is leveled and nobody can raise any contributions, any money, if you're running for office during that time, during the legislative session. Mr. President, this is a kind of an easy, simple ethics bill. I'll be glad to answer any questions, or we'll yield the way.
Chair recognizes Senator 36 for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Does the Senator yield?
Yes, be glad to.
Thank you for referencing that last piece of language that was put in the bill, and it refers to people who are running for office, not holding office, but who are seeking office, not being able to collect or accept contributions during the legislative session. Isn't that just incumbent protection? I mean, we're not supposed to, as legislators, accept money because of the appearance of an ethical breach, that we're up here passing laws and people are handing us campaign checks. But what's the logic for someone who is not in office and they're seeking office being able to accept campaign contribution, raise money for their race? I mean, I know we'd all like to have nobody run against us forever and be up here till the Lord takes us home.
Amen.
Or some of us might feel that way, but
praise God.
But is that really an even-handed thing to do? I mean, it just smacks of incumbent protection.
Senator, do you have a question, or you want to just come up here and talk?
Is that an even-handed measure? Doesn't it smack of incumbent protection, and that we would be self-serving?
Well, Senator, I don't agree with that at all. I think it's actually, again, as I said earlier, it levels the playing field. No one can raise money during the legislative session if they're seeking office during the legislative session or for that position. So I think it's just a fair act, and it levels the playing field. Thank you. I appreciate your support to House Bill 143.
Questions on the adoption of the committee substitute. Is there objection? Without objection, committee substitute is adopted. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? Is there objection? Agreed. Report of committee which favor will pass the bill. Chairs none. Report of committee is agreed to. Shall the main question be now put? Are there any objections? Chairs none. Main question is ordered. Shall this bill now pass? Questions on the pass of the bill. All those in favor of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed, no. Secretary, unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 45 and the nays are 2, and this bill, AMC Rex Constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Secretary will read House Bill 407.
House Bill 407 by Representative Powell of the 32nd and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 3 of Chapter 5 of Title 40 of the OCGA relating to cancellation, suspension, and revocation of driver's licenses and for other purposes. The Committee of the Senate on Public Safety recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. The Senate Public Safety Committee offers the following substitute to House Bill 407. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 3 of Chapter 5 of Title 40 of Article 7 of Chapter 8 of Title 42 of the OCGA relating to cancellation, suspension, and revocation of driver's licenses and for other purposes. Through with the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 49th. Present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. I bring before you House Bill 407. House Bill 407 addresses second offense DUI offenders. Under current DUI law, the second offense, the license is suspended until the risk class is completed. This extends the interlock device from 6 months to 1 year that's required upon the second DUI. This keeps Georgia in compliance with federal guidelines and assures that we get our federal money to draw down. It does not change anything else. Mr. President, if there are no questions, I'll yield the well.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 41st for a question.
Senator Yield?
Yes, sir.
Senator, you mentioned federal funds. Can you tell us exactly the applicability of this bill and federal funds? Would we definitely lose federal funds if this bill doesn't pass?
In May of 2012, President Obama signed a Road Surface Transportation Act, and part of that Surface Transportation Act was this interlock DUI, and it would prevent us from getting $25 million in surface transportation funds for the state of Georgia.
If we did not go from 6 months to a year?
That's correct, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Mr. President? That was the $25 million question.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 46th for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will the senator yield?
I thought I was going to get by.
You're so knowledgeable.
Yes, sir, I will.
I want to make clear that this only applies to a second DUI. You're not required to have an interlock device on a first offense. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Would you yield for one further question?
Certainly.
On page 2 of your bill, down on line 56, there's a sentence that says, no person that's been granted an exemption from this ignition interlock device shall be eligible for a limited driving permit. We passed legislation last year to allow people to participate in these drug court, DUI court programs where we could rehabilitate them. And there's a provision in that complied with federal law at the time that would allow you to get a limited driving permit for the purpose of attending those type of rehabilitation programs. Is this also dictated by federal law, or are we freelancing on this provision?
Senator, you must have stayed up all night trying to ambush me. I'm kidding you. I'm kidding.
Understand.
No, I clearly see the conflict. I clearly see the conflict, and there was no intentional conflict or derivation of. We didn't try to get around a federal statute by any way.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 55th for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Yield?
Yes, ma'am.
Senator, do you know what it costs for a person to maintain one of these ignition?
$300
per
for 6 months.
For 6 months?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Senator, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
No further questions, Senator.
You didn't think I knew that, did you? Thank you, ma'am.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 35th speak to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senators, I come to speak in favor of HB 407. I have a Senate Bill 15 that never was heard by the Judiciary Committee, even though I requested it several times. It's almost identical to this, and many of you voted for it last year. And I introduced it year before last and the year before that. So I'm glad that we finally buying into the fact that if you drink and become impaired and choose to get behind the wheel of a car, and then you become habitual with it by getting another DUI and putting so many people's lives at stake, including your own when you're the one who's driving, then you need to have some kind of help. Of course, Mothers Against Drunk Driving has been pushing this bill for over 10 years. And I've been right behind them even in the time that I left here, because I served on the state board of Mothers Against Drunk Driving. And as many of you know, I lost my son, Kerry, to a drunk driver. And I know that I just heard something about temporary driver's licenses. I fought that last year, that part of it, because the person who killed my son had 5 previous DUIs. He was driving an 18-wheeler with a temporary license, so because that was his means of working. So we need to continue to tighten up these bills. I can't bring Kerry back, but God, we can save other lives. So Senate Bill 15 can be retired if you vote on this bill. And so I thank those who are bringing it forth. Of course, my bills in the past have been a little stronger, but we can live with this because this can keep habitual drunk drivers off. And as far as the cost of this device, it costs more when you lose a life or when you injure someone. Also, this person chooses to continue to be impaired by alcohol. So they need to have some kind of restraint. I wish we could take their driver's license forever. But people do have to learn, and DUI schools are not doing it. This doesn't deter them. All they do is get right back in the car. In fact, some of the people at DUI school in my area is about 10 of them. And I see those people going around the block and getting in their cars to go home or to come there. And they're supposed to be not driving. So interlock would even help in that particular case because they have to breathe into it. And another thing, they have improved the interlocks, and I'll take my seat, but they have improved them, and now it's very difficult to fool them. It used to be different ways that people try to get around everything. So please vote for this bill. Please save lives. Please do it in memory of Kerry Allen James, who only went to the store, got killed by a habitual drunk driver, and he cannot, I'm speaking for him today. So thank you very much, and if there's no questions, I yield the will, Mr. President.
You wish to answer a question, Senator? Yeah. Senator from the 45th wishes to ask a question. Senator, we yield.
Will the senator yield?
I yield.
Senator, is it not true that there are several of us in here who have lost their children?
Yes, it is.
And Senator, is it not true that we empathize with you and understand your feelings?
Yes.
And Senator, isn't it true that there are a lot of us in here that admire your tenacity and your courage in fighting for this issue, and that we wish you strength?
Thank you very much. Thank you, Senator. There are no other questions. I yield the will and ask for your favorable consideration on House Bill 407.
Question on the adoption of the committee substitute. Is there objection? Without objection, committee substitute is adopted. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? Is there objection? Agreeing to report to committee which fail pass the bill. Chairs none. Report to committee is agreed to. Shall the main question be now put? Are there any objections? Chairs none. Main question is ordered. Shall this bill now pass? Question on the pass of the bill. All those in favor of the bill vote aye. Those opposed no. Secretary, unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 48 and the nays are 1. And this bill, having City Records Constitution majority, is therefore passed. Let me get the Senate's attention for just a moment. If senators would come in and have a seat. Let me have everyone's attention just for a moment. I think everyone here in this body is deeply, deeply grateful for our Senate photographer who does a remarkable job year after year after year and day after day. You can give her a round of applause. Absolutely. Miss Tina has been here longer even than I've been here. So she started when she was a mere child. But all of us naturally become very, very close and really part of extended family. And I recall, obviously, when Tina lost her husband and visiting her in the hospital during those trying times, and she also has now lost her father, Frederick Lubker, and he passed away on Sunday. The funeral arrangements and the service will be held tomorrow at 11 a.m. in Warner Robins. Of course, we will all be keeping Miss Tina and her family in our thoughts and our prayers. We love you and are with you during this time of grief, but appreciate your wonderful service and know that the days ahead will be very, very strong. So with that, I'll give you an opportunity to visit with Tina, but we're going to break for lunch. Senator from the 34th, what purpose?
Mr. President, isn't that the father that was in the military? She brought him down in the wheelchair and several of us got a chance to love on him.
Yep, that was him. That was him, absolutely. Very good. Oh, the lunch is not here yet? Okay. Well, you can still love on her, and we'll carry on with a little bit of business till lunch gets here. Secretary will read House Bill 207.
House Bill 207 by Representative Shaw of the 176th and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 2 of Title 27 of the OCGA relating to licenses, permits, and stamps for hunting, trapping, or fishing so as to provide a definition and for other purposes. The Committee of the Senate on Natural Resources and the Environment recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. The Senate Natural Resources and the Environment Committee offers the following substitute to House Bill 207. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 2 of Title 27 of the OCGA relating to licenses, permits, and stamps for hunting, trapping, or fishing so as to authorize a special turkey hunting season and for other purposes. Amendment 1, Senator Jeffries of the 17th and others offer the following amendment. Amend House Bill 207 by striking lines 4 through 6 and inserting in lieu thereof the following. Code Section 27-3-4 of the OCGA relating to legal weapons for hunting wildlife generally, so as to allow the taking of foxes and bobcats with certain caliber rifles and for other purposes. Through with the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 7th. Present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, House Bill 207 is a turkey hunting bill. What it will do is allow the DNR Commissioner and the DNR Board the authority to set a special weekend for those who are mobilely impaired and those persons of 16 years of age or younger to hunt during a special season. And that's the primary preface of the bill. There's also an amendment, and Mr. President, if it's, go ahead and speak to the amendment. I'll go ahead and speak to the amendment. The amendment deals with that the first part is Section 1. The amendment deals with Section 2. There was an amendment offered in the committee that was passed out as a committee substitute. And unbeknown to some of the members of the committee, this was not supported by the Department of Natural Resources, the commissioner, and it was also offered as a House bill on the House side, and it died in House committee. So we are amending the bill to take that language out because moving those 3 counties in the southern zone and not allowing them to provide baiting could also spur some constitutional concerns possibly. And we're moving that language out and inserting new language, which would allow the hunting of bobcats and foxes with caliber rifles of larger than a 17. And I would appreciate your favorable support on that amendment. And if there's any questions, Mr. President, I will take those at this time.
There are no questions. No, there is a question. Chair recognizes Senator from the 19th for a question.
Senator Yield.
I yield.
Are you saying it's putting 3 counties in the southern zone?
Well, as the bill currently reads, it does. Yes, sir. It will change the deer season to the southern zone deer season, which is under current law.
Well, Senator, further Yield?
Yes, sir.
What do the hunters in those 3 counties want to do?
Well, that is a good question, Senator. I think that this personally, I believe that this should be brought forward as a general bill, as it was in the House, and it failed in the House. And I think that that should be something that be taken up at a different time.
Senator, further Yield?
Yes, sir.
Senator, wouldn't you think that the hunters in these 3 counties would enjoy the luxury of hunting over corn like the rest of us in the South?
Well, I would agree, Senator, but they had that opportunity 2 years ago to encourage their representatives to support corn or bait hunting over bait in the northern zone, and unfortunately that didn't happen. But the Georgia Hunting and Fishing Federation does support this amendment.
Senator, further Yield?
Yes, sir.
Senator, if we support those hunters in those counties, even though we don't have those counties in our district, wouldn't we need to vote against this amendment?
Senator, I'll leave that up to your discretion.
Okay. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 23rd for a question.
Well, Senator Yield.
I yield.
Isn't it true that the citizens of Glasscock County, all 3,000 of them, strongly support this allowing them that extra time for hunting?
I understand the senator's concerns, and I'm sure they do, but Senator, as I stated, this is something that the Department of Natural Resources does not support, and this is something that they would rather see move forward in a different manner than attached to a bill, as it was tried to be moved forward in the House, and it was unsuccessful.
Will Senator further yield?
I'll yield.
Does this bill extend the hunting season for citizens of those 3 counties?
As the bill currently reads, a substitute out of the Natural Resources Committee, it would allow them to hunt under the same time frame that the southern zone of the state of Georgia hunts. Yes, sir. It would take them out of the northern hunting zone time frame in regards to deer season.
And will Senator further yield?
I yield.
Isn't it true that the citizens of Glasscock County strongly favor this bill?
I would defer to the senator's judgment in that, and I'm sure you know of what you speak.
Thank you.
No further questions, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President.
The question is on the floor amendment authored by the senator from the 17th. Does he wish to? Fine. He covered it. Questions on amendment number 1 authored by the senator from the 17th. Is there objection? There is objection by the senator from the 23rd. All those in favor of amendment 1 authored by the senator from the 17th and the 7th, rise, stand, and be counted. Rise, stand, and be counted if you're in favor of it. Reverse. Y'all voting to shoot them pretty little foxes and those little bobcats as cute as they are? On amendment number 1, the yeas are 14 and the nays are 17. And the amendment has lost, and the foxes and the bobcats are saved one more time. Questions on the adoption of committee substitute. Is there objection? Without objection, committee substitute is adopted. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? Is there objection agreed and the Porter Committee which favor pass the bill? Chairs none. Porter Committee is agreed to. Shall the main question be now put? Are there any objections? Chairs none. Main question is ordered. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor vote aye. Those opposed no. Secretary, unlock the machine. Senator from the 7th, what purpose you rise?
Mr. President, it is not true that although the amendment failed, the Senate sponsor would still appreciate your yes vote on this piece of legislation.
Senate sponsor is requesting a yes vote, as he stated. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 41 and the nays are 4. And this bill, having received a constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Secretary will read House Bill 475.
House Bill 475 by Representative Pack of the 108th and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 5 of Title 40 of the OCGA relating to driver's licenses so as to authorize the Commissioner of Driver Services to enter into reciprocal agreements and for other purposes. The Committee of the Senate on Public Safety recommends that this bill do pass. Amendment 1. Senator Schaefer, the 48th, and others offers the following amendment. Amend House Bill 475 by replacing line 19 with the following. Issued by the State of Georgia and the Commissioner determines that the laws of such foreign country relating to the operation of motor vehicles are sufficiently similar to such laws of this state such that driving safety shall not be compromised and for other purposes. Amendment 2. Senator Schaefer, the 48th, and others offer the following amendment. Amend House Bill 475 by inserting after the period on line 24 the following. The Department shall make a notation of any driver's license, permit, identification card, or other state identifying document issued by the Department and for other purposes. Through with the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 54th. Present the bill. Please give the Senator your attention.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the Senate, I bring to you House Bill 475 that comes out of the House with 174 to 2 support and out of our Public Safety Committee with a 5-0 vote. There are a couple of amendments before you. The Pro Tem is in conference at the moment. He's the primary author on those. I co-signed with him, and I'm supportive of them, and I will try to speak to them as best I can. We worked on those together, but in his absence, I will address the amendments. The bill itself, Senators, is designed to bring Georgia on par with our neighbors, Alabama, South Carolina, Florida, in terms of how we deal with those folks in our country and those folks in other countries in terms of driving regulations and driving standards. The bill would authorize the Commissioner to enter into reciprocal agreements with other nations, provided that those nations have the similar driving standards that we have in the United States, or in the state of Georgia, but in the United States generally as well. The amendments that are before you, I think, address some specific concerns that have been raised about this legislation as it has made its way through this building. Amendment number 1 deals with how the Commissioner goes about establishing reciprocal agreements with other countries, and it shows that driving safety shall not be compromised. They have to investigate that fact. And then on Amendment 2 that is also before you, this makes some restraints in terms of the discretion of the Commissioner about who we can enter into reciprocal agreements with, and also provides that we will have limited term printed on the face of any driver's license issued pursuant to these agreements, and those licenses will not be valid for voting. Obviously, citizens of other nations are not authorized to vote here, and we would not want a Georgia driver's license to create any confusion as to that fact. Mr. President, I would yield for questions. If there are none, I would ask for favorable consideration.
No
of
questions,
both the amendments.
Senator.
Thank you.
Question on amendment number 1. Is there objection? There is objection on amendment number 1? There is objection on amendment number 1. All those in favor, rise, stand, and be counted. Amendment number 1, rise, stand, and be counted if you are in favor of amendment 1. Reverse. On amendment number 1, the yeas are 21 and the nays are 7. That's a no quorum voting. No quorum voting. All those in favor of amendment number 1, rise, stand, and be counted. Reverse. On amendment number 1, the yeas are 30 and the nays are 9, and amendment 1 has passed. Now the question is on amendment 2. Is there objection? Without objection, amendment number 2 is adopted. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? Is there objection? Agreed and report of committee which favorable pass the bill. Chairs none. Report of committee is agreed to. Shall the main question be now put? Are there any objections? Chairs none. Main question order. Shall this bill now pass? Question on the passage of the bill. All those in favor, vote aye. Those opposed, no. Secretary will unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 42 and the nays are 3. And this bill, having received requisite constitutional majority, is therefore adopted. Secretary will read House Bill 34.
House Bill 34 by Representative Parsons of the 44th and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 48-7-29.14 of the OCGA relating to the income tax credit for clean energy property so as to include certain commercial geothermal heat pumps and for other purposes. The Committee of the Senate on Finance recommends that this bill do pass. Through with the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes Senator 29th. Present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 34 simply expands an existing income tax credit for clean energy property. The tax credit already allowed for geothermal heat pump systems. This simply expands it to 3-phase heat pump systems that are used in commercial facilities. And if there are no questions, Mr. President, I'll yield the well.
Question, Senator. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against? I'm sorry, what? Your lights? I don't see the light. Whoa, come on back. It's not up on my screen for some reason, but I see on there where there's a number of senators wishing to ask. Yeah. I'm sorry. Chair recognizes Senator from the 26th. It has a question first. So. Chair recognizes Senator from 56.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will the senator yield?
Be glad to.
Senator, isn't it true that when this was first put together for Energy Star, it was made to be for home use for people to use in their residences?
It's my understanding that it was to take care of certified geothermal heat pump systems, and that it was intended to include all of them, and that's really all that House Bill 34 does. Is it extends it to include these three-phase systems that are for commercial facilities. That's my understanding.
But Senator, isn't it further true that Energy Star itself, the name and the nomenclature, is just for residential use, such as someone who might buy a hot water heater or another device at Home Depot, as an example, put in their home?
I'd defer to the senator's knowledge of that subject.
Senator, will you yield for another question?
Certainly.
Senator, isn't it true that this tax credit typically runs out and there's not enough dollars to fulfill the credit every year?
No, it's certainly been very popular. It's been a way for Georgia geothermal business to grow and for folks to take advantage of this renewable clean energy source. And it's certainly our hope with House Bill 34 that that'll be able to continue to grow and expand.
And would you yield for one final question?
Certainly.
Isn't it true if we add three-phase commercial into this that the credit will probably be used up within a matter of a few days, and most of the folks who want to use that for their residences will no longer be able to have access to this credit?
I think we'll certainly need to discuss, if House Bill 34 passes, expanding the funding that's available for this very good program.
Chair recognizes Senator from 31st for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Does the senator yield?
Yes, sir.
I got distracted there trying to get the bill in front of me, but are you aware of what the limits are for these credits today?
I am not.
Do you know if those credits are fully utilized?
I believe that they are.
So if those credits are fully utilized today, and they are limited exclusively to residential use, and we expand it to commercial use, then we're going to push the residential, we're going to replace residential use with commercial use.
Well, it would certainly be my hope that if we adopted House Bill 34, that in future years we could have discussion about how to adequately provide for the additional demand on the tax credit that this would create.
And Senator, do you have a physical note for this bill?
Not that I'm aware of. I don't believe there is one attached.
Do you believe that this bill should have a physical note?
Well, as the senator stated, I mean, it does not have an impact on the amount available for the tax credit. So I don't believe, since it is changing the revenue, I don't believe that the fiscal note would be required.
Thank you, Senator.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 9th.
Senator yield.
Certainly.
I think you just stated, and I believe you're correct, that there's a $5 million cap, so there's no fiscal note because we're stuck at $5 million. Isn't that what you said?
Yes, that is correct.
And that is correct. Yes. But if we're capped at $5 million and this expands to commercial monies that could have gone to residential, aren't we cutting off more funding to residential to give it to commercial?
I mean, obviously there would be a competition between the commercial and residential systems. I agree with that.
Is it not true? It's my understanding this credit runs out in 3 or 4 months, and right now as it is, and the people who are going to get this, obviously there's no residential three-phase, there's only commercial three-phase, and it's going to push more money towards commercial from residential.
I would not disagree with that, and I would hope that in future legislative sessions we would consider the possibility of increasing that cap to address that issue.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 19th for a question.
Well, Senator Yield.
Certainly.
Senator, the original language, I'm assuming, was to was to encourage some alternative energy production by the residents, right?
Yes, sir.
Why would, if we're going to expand it, why wouldn't we have expanded it to residential in solar or residential in wind or some other alternative, rather than just saying to an industry that is already out there, we're going to just give you a tax credit?
Well, I'm certainly a believer in all forms of clean, renewable energy, but I think that House Bill 34 does simply speak to geothermal, which I think is a very good, clean, renewable source of energy that is a growing industry in our state.
Senator for the Yield.
Certainly.
Where was the three-phase commercial added to the bill?
It's at lines 16.
No, I mean, where in the process was it added?
That was the original bill, the House Bill 34.
So who was behind, if you know, who was behind that ad?
Well, I mean, the original bill added geothermal heat pump systems. It's my understanding that was the original bill. I don't believe that was added in a committee process or at a later stage.
Right. Senator for the Yield.
Certainly.
I'm trying to find out where the impetus came for opening it up to commercial when the original intent of the first bill was to encourage alternative fuels.
Well, it's my understanding from some of the discussion that the intention was to make Georgia a more friendly state to the geothermal industry, and this is a way to further that purpose.
Okay.
Chair recognizes Senator on the 45th for a question.
With Senator Gill.
Certainly.
Senator, is it not true that we have many, not minutes, but hours on this bill that we heard testimony on?
It is.
Senator, is it not true that they testified in committee, I believe, that it's management companies, commercial management companies that testified in favor of this? Is that not true?
That's my understanding.
And Senator, is it not true that when they testified in committee, they talked about three-phase electrical power, and they were talking about businesses, but is it not true that residential customers also have three-phase power? Is that not true?
I do know of some that do have three-phase systems, yes.
And is it not true that I think I talked about in committee large houses, and a lot of us who have neighborhoods with large houses, that they really could benefit from this?
That is true.
But is it not true that the commercial business owners could probably usurp this benefit before the residential customers because there's not very much money in it anyway?
I think just as several have pointed out, I think an excellent argument is being made for expanding the cap.
You wish to speak? Question? Okay, Chair recognizes Senator on the 15th for a question.
Thank you. Senator Yield.
Certainly.
Senator, isn't it true that this bill has a lot of positive components for the community, the benefits, potential for job creation and expansion in that area, as well as the real benefits of clean energy and renewable, as you so stated?
There's no question that there's a great opportunity for increased employment and economic development in this state by adoption of House Bill 34.
And obviously, and finally, would be total appreciation across the board, as well as in the commercial and residential area as well, in its impact.
That is correct,
right.
Yes, sir.
Right. Thanks, Senator.
Thank you.
No further questions.
Thank you.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? Is the objection granted to Report of Committee which failed pass the bill? Chairs none. Report of Committee is agreed to. Shall the main question be now put? Are there any objections? Chairs none. Main question is ordered. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the bill vote aye. Those opposed no. Secretary unlock the machine. On the motion, or on the bill, the yeas are 26 and nays are 17, and the bill has failed. Chair recognizes Senator from 29th. Senator is serving notice for reconsideration. Do you want the vote on reconsideration now or now? All those in favor of reconsideration will vote aye. Those opposed, no. Secretary will unlock the machine. Voting on reconsideration. Just as a reminder, if it is reconsidered, it goes to the general calendar, which on the motion for reconsideration, the yeas are 29 and the nays are 19, and the Senate has reconsidered its decision. The bill will go back to the general calendar. Secretary will read House Bill 59.
House Bill 59 by Representative Taylor of the 79th and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 1 of Title 35 of the OCGA relating to general provisions for law enforcement officers and agencies so as to require persons and companies licensed to provide alarm monitoring services and for other purposes. The Committee of the Senate on Public Safety recommends that this bill do pass. Through with the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the Senator from the 40th. Present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. What this bill does, it requires an alarm company to place a second call in the event of an alarm prior to dispatching services. The reason for this bill is that it's a pretty interesting statistic. 95% of all residential alarms statewide are false. And obviously they use up a lot of valuable time and police assets. And how this works is when the alarm comes in, the company will call a primary verification number. If they can't reach a primary number, they're to call a secondary number. And obviously, if they don't get a hold of anybody, they're going to go ahead and continue to dispatch and send the people out. This was, if there's an example like a fire or medical emergency or audio or visual evidence, no second call is required. It's supported by the Association of the Chiefs of Police, as well as the Alarm Industry Association. And that is the bill, Mr. President. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Chair recognizes Senator on the 54th for a question. 54.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will the Senator yield?
Yes.
Is the Senator aware that there are occasions when I don't make it home while we're in session?
I couldn't.
Is the Senator aware that there are evenings when I am unable to make it to my home in Dalton while we're in session?
I'm sure that's true, Senator.
Is the Senator further aware that if my alarm system goes off at my home, I don't want them to wait to call me or anybody else before the Dalton Police Department gets over to my house?
Senator, to answer your question, there's a secondary number that they call immediately. If they don't get an answer, they're still in the process of dispatching.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes Senator on the 31st. Question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Does the Senator yield?
Yes.
Now, you mentioned a secondary number. Does this bill require an alarm company to have 2 operators so that they can call the first number and the second number simultaneously, or do they call them in sequence?
I'm sorry.
Does this bill require an alarm company to have 2 operators available at all times to call the phone numbers so that they can call the first one and the second one simultaneously, or does it allow them to call those numbers sequentially?
What it says is the initial attempt, then the second reasonable attempt to make such contact using a different telephone number. You got 2 different numbers. So if they can't get a hold of the first number, they try the second number. If they can't get a hold of the second number, it's still dispatched automatically.
So then would it be true that the senator from the 54th was correct that if we pass this bill, it will delay the action of calling the appropriate authorities if an alarm goes off?
Senator, the answer to your question, I guess, is when you got 95% of the alarm calls we're getting are false, number one, we've now got people, particularly in the metro area, they are charging people for false alarm things. This was put forth by the Association of Chief of Police, and I think they probably know a lot more about this than I do, and that's why I'm supporting the bill. That's the best I can tell you.
Senator, would you further yield?
Sure.
Are you more concerned about those folks, the 95% folks that don't have a robbery going on, or are you more concerned about the 5% that do have a robbery going on?
Senator, in the event of duress or a fire or emergency, or if there's audio or visual evidence of a crisis, no second call is required. That's in the bill.
Thank you, Senator.
Chair recognizes Senator from 56 for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will the senator yield?
I will yield to the fireman.
Thank you, Senator. Isn't it true that I do a lot of work in public safety and even helped construct some 911 centers?
Yes, you do.
Senator, isn't it true that a dispatcher can take the initial call and dispatch someone while they're making the second call and just immediately cancel them so there'll be no delay in service? It'll just help the process to make sure that we're not putting more people at harm or costing more potential time or accidents in the future.
Thank you very much for that clarifying question. Mr. President, I yield the well.
Any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? Is the objection agreed? Report of committee which fail pass the bill. Chair is none. Report of committee is agreed to. Shall the main question be now put? All those in favor of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed, no. Secretary will unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 32, the nays are 14, and this bill, having received its constitutional majority, is therefore adopted. The Senate will stand at ease. They have lunch prepared and ready for us. We will be back here at 2:15.